Good morning, everyone. Hello, Elara. Hello, Egg. Long time no see. Hello, Susu. Hello, everyone. Good morning. May you share a fun story? Sure. Why not? Oh, no, wait. Ah. Oh. Let's try this. How can I change that? Ah, maybe like that. Please wait a minute. Let's try remove. Hide. There we go. All right, that's good enough. Okay, let's see. Today you watched a video about elegy for a donkey. It was written about 1,200 years ago by a poor scholar in China. The original copy is kept in the British Museum in London. He missed his donkey and wished it a better next life. If reborn a human, stay with me. If still a donkey, shun a poor scholar. Avoid the rich men and nobles. Go to farmers, they will cherish you dearly. Huh. So that's an interesting story, Susu, but I'm not sure if I totally understand. So that's okay, but what I would tell you is that's a good homework assignment. Sometimes you know a story really well in your language, but can you tell that same story in another language with just as much clarity? So, what I would say, Susu, is sit down and see if you can write a description of what that story is about in English and really work on making it just as clear so that everybody understands what's happening in the story and what's the lesson of the story, right? Yeah, so Susu said, how do you participate here? That's kind of a pretty good, that's a pretty good way to say it. You can treat me almost like I'm an AI. I'm a human AI. So ask me a question. Most people ask me questions about learning English, and I will try to give you a good answer. Okay? But just like AI, if you don't ask AI a good question, it won't give you a good answer. But if you ask AI good questions, it will give pretty good answers. I work the same way. So if you ask me a good question, then I will give you a good answer. But if you ask me a question like, how can I learn English? Or how can I be fluent? Or how can I speak like a native? Those three questions are terrible questions. Those are terrible questions. How can I speak English well? Why do you think that's a good question? How can I speak like a native? There are 330 million Americans. They don't all speak the same way. So that's a terrible question. How can I speak fluently? It's not a good question because you can't define it. And when you ask a big question, most of the time, people ask big questions because they're too lazy or not curious. So if you just say, how can I play music? If you ask me that question, I think you're either lazy or not really interested. Okay? Ask a question that shows that you really care. Ask a question that shows that you're not lazy. Okay? Oh, and that reminds me. Benja says, that's true. I don't have the same phrases that work in Spanish, but don't in English. Okay, yeah, right. So think about the phrases that you have in Spanish and try to figure out how you would say them in English in a clear way. Okay? How do polyglots learn several languages quickly while still reaching a high level for proficiency? Linda, it's not a it's not a question anyone can really answer, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because polyglots are not normal people. You cannot compare yourself to a polyglot. Don't do it. You just shouldn't. Okay? What is a polyglot, everybody? Do you guys know what a polyglot is? What does polyglot mean? Anyone? Yes, a person who speaks many languages. That's right. That's a polyglot. So, how do they do that? How do they learn how to speak many languages? That's not really something that you can learn. Okay, that's genetics, that's DNA. There are some people who are bigger and stronger. And because they're bigger and stronger, they can do things that big, strong people can do. That's part of their DNA. Okay, now, did they work out? Sure, they worked out, but they probably had good DNA to begin with, right? If they're very good at what they do, then they probably had DNA that favored that thing. Everybody has some DNA that favors certain things. Okay? So, I would not try to compare myself to a polyglot. It's not a good idea. Okay, And how do they learn it with a high level of proficiency? What I would tell you is you should study the way their brain works. If you want to understand a polyglot, you should study the way their brain works, like how they think, and look at how they break down learning. Right? So what's different about the way they think and what's different about the way they learn? If you look at those two things, you'll probably find some good tips that might help you learn a little bit better. But it won't make you a polyglot. Okay? Tabby, hello Tabby. Thank you very much. Good luck with applying my theory. Do Americans like the British accent? Sure, Henry. I don't think we don't like it or dislike it. We don't have a feeling about it. I don't have a feeling about that. I don't care about anybody's accent. That's me. Right? So whatever accent you have doesn't matter to me. Okay? It's, Henry, the way I look at it, it's like if you play the saxophone, there are millions of people who play the saxophone, but they all play their own way. It's kind of how accents are, really. All right? Okay, again, fly. The circumstances of my class are you're in it right now. This is my class. I am a teacher. I have been teaching for a very, very long time. I really love to teach. So ask me questions and I will answer. That's how you participate. Okay? So just put your questions in the chat and I will try to read it and see if I can give you any answer. I don't have every answer. I will not try to answer everything. If there is something that you ask me that I don't know about, then I will tell you I don't know about that thing. But if I feel I have something I could say that's of value, then I will. Okay? All right, what's the difference between absurd and ridiculous? Sometimes nothing. Sometimes we could say those words and they mean exactly the same thing, right? If I say, oh, that's absurd, or oh, that's ridiculous, in that case, it means something that is so silly and illogical and stupid and ignorant that you're saying, oh, that's stupid. Right? Absurd and ridiculous sometimes can mean the same thing, meaning that's a stupid idea. Or what you just said is stupid. Okay? But the word ridiculous can also have a second meaning that just means kind of crazy and wild, or nonsensical, like nonsense, or like there's a TV show. There's a TV show in America. It's called Ridiculousness. Ridiculousness. And it's a show that is about, it's a show where they watch short videos of people doing crazy, stupid things. Ridiculous things. Right? So it's people who are falling down, or it's people who are saying funny jokes, or it's people who are doing silly, stupid things. So the word ridiculous sometimes means more like crazy and wild and funny. But the word absurd does not mean crazy, wild, funny. It means stupid or illogical or nonsensical. Okay? What's the difference between with and to and between? So, Mr. Sabir, Prepositions are a little bit difficult. Those are prepositions. And prepositions are a little difficult because prepositions can be used in many different ways, and sometimes more than one preposition can be the right one. So what I tell everybody about prepositions, you don't need a class or a book about prepositions. You need a lot of practice. That's it. Okay? There are not that many prepositions. There are some, but not that many. And they're not very, very complicated. Most of the time, it's very simple. So what you need to do is do a lot of practice with them, and I have help for you with that. Let me give you a website where you can go practice your prepositions. This is a website called GamesToLearnEnglish.com, and on this website, it's a free website that has a lot of fun games to play to teach you English. They teach you vocabulary and grammar and adverbs and adjectives and phrasal verbs and present tense and past tense and whatever, right? They teach you a lot of different things. It's all games. But they have one game for prepositions, and here it is. Take a look, right? So first we can just review. Let's just practice here. We're going to study, right? So if you look here, you see, the candle is next to the TV. The candle is next to the TV. And if you click here, look, they take the text away so you don't see it. Okay, the candle is next to the TV. So lamp is on the right of the TV. On the right of. On the left of. Between. The TV is between the speakers. The clock is above the TV. The books are under the TV. Okay, so this is the review, and then you can go play the game, right? So let's look. Put the newspaper on the chair. So you take the newspaper, you drag it over here to the chair.
Put the cushion on the sofa.
Put the cushion, here's the cushion, on the sofa.
Put the candle on the table.
Put the candle on the table.
Put the remote under the sofa.
Put the remote, this thing here, under the sofa.
Put the bag on the right of the chair.
So, if you just play that game for a couple of weeks, you'll understand a lot more about prepositions. Okay? GamesToLearnEnglish.com. It's a prepositions game, and it's on GamesToLearnEnglish.com right here. Go to that link. Okay? Go to the link I just showed you it. That's the link. Okay? Now, let me see. Did I miss anything else here? How can you learn like me? Watch me here and listen, and you'll see the way I work. And you'll see the way I learn, and you'll see the way I teach. I think it's also important to point that to learn a language, you have to immerse yourself in it. I learned more at it when I'm learning on my own. Okay, yes, that's true, Tabby. That's true of any learning. Any learning, the more you can dive into what you're learning, the more you can immerse yourself. To immerse means to go under, like underwater, right? So when you immerse yourself in a language, it means like you're diving into the water of the language. You're diving into English. You're surrounded by English completely in the water of English. Okay? So Yes, that's true. Immersion is a wonderful technique. It does work. However, Tabby, I always thought it was a little bit silly to talk about immersion as a technique because 99% of the world will never get a chance to do that. Most people who learn another language, they are not going to that country to learn that language, right? You're not going to go to America to learn English. You're going to learn it in your country. So most people will not have an opportunity to go to another country and be surrounded by the language they're learning. Okay, so then what do you do? What's the next best thing? If you cannot go to a country that speaks the language and you really do surround yourself with it in reality, if you can't do that, okay, then you need to surround yourself in your mind. So I want you to think about your mind. Your mind is like a filter. Your mind is like a filter, right? And so everything that goes into your mind comes back out when you speak, right? You have to think, you hear, you listen, then you think, right? So there's a filter in here, right? And right now, your filter is your native language. If you're Chinese, then your filter is a Chinese filter. You think everything in Chinese. If you're Arabic speaker, then your filter is Arabic, and you think everything in Arabic. So what I'm telling you is, you can immerse yourself where you live. You don't have to move anywhere. All you need to do is change the filter in your mind to a different language so that you process your world in that language, that you're always thinking in that language as much as you can. And this will also help you find the things that you can't say. So if you walk out into the world and you try to think in English, there will be many things that you can say. You can say, today the weather is very hot. Okay, good. You can say that in English. You can think that in English. Wonderful. But maybe you don't know how to say something that's very difficult, right? Like maybe there's a building that's a special building and you don't know the name of that building in English. Okay, all right, fine. You don't know that thing. You found something you don't know. Write it down. Learn it. That's your homework. Okay, so the term immerse means to be surrounded by. So to immerse yourself in English means, usually it means you moved to America. And now in America, you see English and you hear English every day. The TV is English and the radio is English and the music is English and the signs are English and everything is English. That's to be immersed in English. But I'm telling you that you don't have to travel to do that. You don't have to travel. All you have to do is teach your mind to change to a different language filter. Instead of using your native language as the filter, use English as your mental filter so that everything you see and think, you do that in English, not in your native language. You directly think in that language. You understand? So, if it's hot today, I can think, oh, it's so hot. Oh, today is so hot. I can, or I can think, 今天的天气真是好热. That's Chinese. I said that the weather today is really hot. All right? I can say, I like that. 我喜欢那个,我喜欢这个. Right? I like that. So that's what I do. I live in the United States. But I try to think in Chinese as much as I possibly can. And if I don't know how to think that thing, that's something I can study. Okay? This is a wonderful way to learn because it makes the language more practical. That language becomes not words that are in a book. These are the words that are in your life. Okay? So sometimes the words in the book are not very useful for you in your life. But if you're trying to learn the world around you, that is your life. So that's useful. Okay? Okay, please be patient. I'm trying to go back and read all the comments and questions. Okay, let's see. Hello, Becca. How are you? You're very angry that you can't be fluent in English. Sunflower. The sun is the sun. You can't be angry at the sun. There's no point in being angry at the sun. You're angry at something that there's no point in being angry at it. It won't help you to be angry at it. Okay? And let me help you, Sunflower. I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel much better. Fluency doesn't exist. No one is fluent. No one. Do you know why I say that? Why do I say that no one is fluent? Am I fluent in English? Am I fluent in English? You tell me. Okay, everybody here says yes. Yes. Okay, but what does fluent mean? What does fluent mean? Tell me what fluency means. What does it mean to be fluent? Hello, Maria. 7 says smooth. What does it mean to be fluent? To speak like a native? It means you can explain anything you see. Ricky said that. It means you can explain anything you see. And Ricky's the closest one. If you look up the word fluent in the dictionary, it usually says something like able to speak easily about something. You're able to speak easily about things. Okay, great. Now, do I know everything? Am I a god? Then I'm not fluent. Because you said fluency means that you can speak easily about anything. But I don't know everything, so I can't speak fluently about everything. So I'm not fluent. And the other problem with the word fluent is, how many words do you need to know to be fluent? How many words do you need to know? Is there an exact number? Ricky says maybe 4,000. Ooh, 5,000 to be fluent. Well, let's see. So there are somewhere between 170,000 to 1 million words in the English language. Somewhere between 170,000 to 1 million words. But you think that you can be fluent with 5,000 or 4,000? And does anyone, is there any human that knows every single English word in the English language? Do you know? Is there any human that knows every word? No way. That's exactly right. So, you can't be fluent because how many words do you need to know? Is it 10,000? Is it 10,001? Is it 20,000? Is it 20,001? Right? How many words do you need to know to be fluent? Right? What about grammar? Does your grammar need to be perfect to be fluent? If you make a mistake in grammar, are you now not fluent? And what about accent? Does accent have something to do with fluency? Can you have an accent and be fluent? So, my point is this. If you can't define it clearly, then you can't achieve it. You can't get there. So that's why the word fluency means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I want to be fluent. I'm going to help you because I'll change the way you think about this word. What you should be thinking is not fluent. What you should be thinking is comfortable and controlled. Comfortable and controlled. That's it. Now, to be comfortable and to be in control, you don't have to know every word. You don't even have to have perfect grammar. You just need to be comfortable and you need to have some control over what you do. All right? When you're comfortable, it's relaxed. If it's relaxed, it sounds good. So fluency doesn't really mean anything. People say that to me all the time. How can I be fluent? But if you can't define it, then you can't achieve it. And when you say fluency means that you're able to speak freely about things or easily about things, you can't define that. You know, if you meet God one day, you'll meet the first fluent person you've ever seen. All right? Because God is the only one who knows everything, right? So he can answer everything, right? He could speak about anything. But if you meet any other person, if I met Albert Einstein, I could ask Albert Einstein about drums. Okay, I'm a drummer. Albert Einstein is not a drummer. He is a musician. He played the violin, but he's not a drummer. So if I ask him about drums, he probably can't speak about that. So that means Albert Einstein's not fluent. All right? So, don't worry about the word fluent. Try to just get control. It is like music. It's just like music when you play a song for the first time. If you have ever played an instrument, if you play the piano, the first time you play a song, it's not good, right? The first time you play a song, it's very shaky, and it's very nervous, and it's not smooth, right? But you keep doing it and you listen. And you listen to how it sounds. Does it sound good? Is it too fast? Is it too slow? Is it too loud? Is it too soft? Did I use the right notes, the right rhythms? This is how you improve your music. Well, guess what? That's the same exact way you improve your language, too. Just like music. Okay? Think about your language like music. Make it more musical every day. Musical, it means it sounds good to the ears. Okay? So you can't define fluency, but if you hear something that you like, you know it. If you hear something you like, you say, "Oh, I like that. I know I like that." Right? So use your ears like music. When you listen to someone who's speaking, or when you try to speak, make your words like music. Okay? Okay. Please be patient, okay, because I need to go back and scroll back and listen, or I'm sorry, and scroll back and read some of the comments and answer more questions. I try to answer all the questions, so sometimes you have to wait because I have to catch up with all the questions, okay? Please wait a minute. Let's see. All right. What can I do with my pronunciation and grammar, mostly tense and choice of the right verb? I'm mostly confused where I have to use present continuous. Okay, so Kairav. So pronunciation, if you want to work on your pronunciation, I'm going to tell you a few tips. Please do me a favor and please wait for your questions for just a minute, and let me try to catch up, okay? Let me try to catch up with the questions. So please hold your questions for just a minute, okay? So for pronunciation, the first thing I'll tell you is that tongue twisters are the best way to work on your pronunciation in any language. In any language. It doesn't matter what language you're learning. Every language has these fun little things called tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are like rhymes. They're rhymes that practice a sound. So, for example, in English, if you want to practice the sound of P, you can practice the tongue twister. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And when I was a boy, they would tell you, say that 3 times fast. Can you say that 3 times fast? If you speak English well, then you can say that 3 times fast. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That's called articulation and enunciation, diction. The reason you can understand me is because my mouth moves more. I move my mouth more. That's to articulate, means to move. So when you have good articulation, it means all of your mouth movements are clear and good. All right? And English has many, many tongue twisters, right? She sells seashells down by the seashore. She sells seashells down by the seashore. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Okay? And I remember when I was a boy, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it fast when I was a boy. I had to practice. Okay? So Yash says, how do you improve articulation? That's the next tip I'm going to give you about pronunciation. The next tip is you have to learn your vowels and your consonants, right? How do you say your vowels and your consonants? And I want you to exaggerate them. So when you practice your vowels right now, you say A-E-I-O-U, 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 A-E-I-O-U. You're doing it too fast. They're all connected. It's like one word. And your mouth is not changing. Your mouth is the same movement. So you're not really practicing anything. When you practice your vowels or your consonants, you have to practice with a good movement in your mouth. Right? So language is about grammar and vocabulary and all these things, but language is also about the way you move your mouth. And if you don't move your mouth the right way, then it won't sound right. Okay? So, how do you improve your articulation? Let's start with the vowels. A-E-I-O-U. Now watch me. Watch. A. E-I-O-U. Did you see clear differences between each position? Did you see the clear difference? A, E, I, O, U. Those are very different. And they're big, they're open, right? Now that's the long vowels, but there are also short vowels. So the short vowels are A, E, I, O, And again, each one is a different position. A is a very, very big mouth. Is a medium-sized mouth. I is a small mouth. Is like a rounded mouth. Is a U sound, the U sound, Okay, so A, I, O, Very clear. They're different. If you are from India or you are from China, this is very important for you because Chinese and Hindi, those languages use mostly a small mouth. Most of the movements in those languages are very small mouth movements. So one of the reasons why Chinese people and some Indian people have trouble making their English clear is because their mouths are not opening enough. Okay? Okay, Jasmine says, but it's essential to know phonics. Well, that's what I'm teaching right now. Okay? And so Kairab says English is not a phonetic language. Okay, yeah, you're right. It's not. It's not a phonetic language because it doesn't always. There are many exceptions to the rule, right? English is not a language of rules. English is a language of exceptions. And there are many reasons why that's true, but it doesn't matter that it's not considered a phonetic language, Kairav, because guess what? Whether it's considered one or not, we learn it as one. Every native speaker learns English as a phonetic language. We learn phonics. We learn the pronunciation of things. And it's funny because when they teach us these things, we get just as mad as you do when they teach us things like silent letters and we don't know, like, why is it a silent letter? I don't understand. Why do they have O-U-G-H? Why is it G-H? We don't say the G-H, so why is the G-H there? We say the same things when we're kids. When we see that, we go like, why do you do that? That's so stupid, right? So we are also taught this language. We're taught it as a phonetic language. We're taught it with the sounds, right? But it's a complicated language to learn because it's not a phonetic language, because many times the rules are broken, okay? And why are the rules broken? Because English is not one language. English is a mix of many languages. And because it's a mix of many languages, the rules are a mix. So the phonics, the pronunciation rules are a mix because it's a mix of languages, right? And the grammar sometimes is a mix because it's a mix of languages. Okay? That's the way it works. Okay? All right. Is the origin of the Greeks Latin or Hellenic? Well, it would be Hellenic. It would be Hellenic. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Let me go back and catch some more questions. Please be patient. So to end about pronunciation, you have to practice tongue twisters a lot, and you need to work on your phonics, your pronunciation of vowels, right? And consonants. So you can also practice your consonants. B, 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 ba, 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 C, 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 k, 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 D, 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 da, 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 right? They have all of those. And if you want to get really good, then you start combining the consonants and the vowels. So for example, you can take the short vowels, which is a, I, o. That's the short vowels, a, I, o. And let's add the consonants to the front of those. So let's do B, 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 ba, 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 bi, ba, ba. C, 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 k, 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 ka, ke, ki, ka, ka. D, 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 da, 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 di, da, da. Now, are those words? No, those are sounds. And some of those sounds are in English. They're in words. So when you practice the little parts, it allows you to practice every possibility of sound that could exist in English. Okay? All right. Now, let me go back and get some more questions. Please be patient. I tried to answer all of the questions, so I'm doing the best I can. Let's see. Yes, somebody who gives a lot is a generous person. Thank you, Tabby. That's the right word. What do you do when you're afraid to speak in groups because of your low level of English? Henry wants to know. Henry, language is a performance. So if you want to be great in language, you want to be a good performer. And if you have to be a performer, then what do you have to do? If you want to be a performer, what do you have to do? You must perform. So every time you speak in groups, that's a chance to perform. You're doing what your art is speaking, right? You're doing the speaking in public in a group. That's a performance. It's like an audience, right? Okay, so Henry, if you don't feel confident when you get on stage, that's because you haven't been on stage many times. It's new. Anything that's new is a little scary, right? So how do you get better? You get on stage again, and again, and again, and again. So every time you see a live performance, maybe you see a famous musician, right? And they're on stage and they're playing guitar and they're singing and they look so confident and relaxed. They look that way now, but they didn't when they first got on stage. They were nervous too the first time they got on stage. They're not nervous now because they've been on stage so much. So Henry, be bold. Speak. Speak more. And make mistakes. And I know what you're going to say. The next thing you're going to say is, but they'll laugh at me. They laugh at me when I make mistakes, when I speak in a group. Let them laugh, Henry. Let them laugh. Being a performer means you have to be courageous. You have to have courage. You have to be brave. When you get on stage to perform, you can't be afraid of your audience. You have to have the confidence to play your instrument and make them believe it. Okay? You can't look like you're not sure. You have to make sure you feel like you're confident, and then they'll pay attention. Right? So, Henry, what I would say is, if I perform, if my audience doesn't like it, I can't listen to them. If there's some people laughing at me, I can't listen to them. Maybe the rest of the people are enjoying the music, right? Just a few people are laughing at you. You don't worry about them. All right? So, Henry, speak more in public as much as you can. Make mistakes and be brave, Henry. Don't worry more about them laughing. Worry more about you learning. Okay? Okay. Let's see. Hello, Mona. I'd like to know your opinion on something. Is my English level good enough to start a new language? Yeah. I think, Mona, I would say I think so. I think you should consider, if you're going to learn a third language, what I would suggest is learn it in a binary way. I guess it would be binary. So what I mean is, study the new words that you learn. If you want to learn Spanish using English. Don't learn Spanish using your native language, right? Don't use Spanish using Farsi. Use English. That way, you're still practicing English, even though you're learning a new language, right? Instead of using your native language as your base language, use your second language to learn your third language. That will make your head hurt. All right, let's see. I'm teaching how to go fishing instead of feeding. That's indeed what I do. Why is the word people countable? Okay, that's an interesting question. Wait a minute. So there is a reason why people refers to individual human beings. So it's individuals of the group, right? So it's an interesting word. It's by nature, this word is countable. It's an irregular form, right? So the word people is actually a form of the word person, right? So one person, many people, right? So the word person has a different root. It comes from the Latin word persona. Okay, so the reason why we have two words that mean this is because one word comes from Latin. I told you, English comes from many languages, right? And one word comes from the Latin word persona, and the other word people, it also comes from Latin, but a different word in Latin. So the word populace, right? Like population, right? So people comes from the word population, populace, and person comes from the word persona. But people is an interesting word because sometimes you can say many peoples. Many peoples. So, for example, if I'm talking about Mexican people and American people and Canadian people, that's many peoples. 3 different kinds of people, right? So people is an interesting word. Okay, I need to go faster. Let's see. Is it useful to write English in your social media? Yeah, sure. If you care, I mean. So this is what I'll tell you. If you say that you want to learn something and that you care about it, then you should try to care about it all the time. But I don't see that with language. I see people say, I want to learn English. I really want to be like a native. But then when you write, you don't use capital letters, you don't use commas, you don't use periods, you're using abbreviations like the letter for the letter U, right? For you, right? You're using abbreviation words instead of real words, right? That's not good. You're practicing poorly. So sometimes I see people and they say, I really want to be good in English, but you're not trying your best all the time. You're lazy most of the time. And if you're lazy most of the time when you practice, you'll never be good. You'll never be good. So if you want to write in English, then you should care all the time. Don't be lazy just because we're in social media. Okay? And I'll tell you another story. You never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at you. So if I'm a musician, I'm a drummer, right? If I play music in a bar, and it's a small bar in a small city, and I'm just playing with a small band, right? We're not famous, we're just a little local guy, right? So maybe I don't have to care because it's just a small band in a small bar in a small city, right? So I don't have to care, right? But who knows who's in that club? Who knows who came into that bar? Maybe some famous band came in, or some famous musician, or some famous producer, and they see you. Now, if you're doing your best, maybe they like what you do and they might have an opportunity for you. But if you're just, oh, I don't care because it's a small band in a small bar in a small city, so I don't care. It doesn't matter. Then you don't matter. So, when you say you want to be good at something, you should care about that all the time. And you should remember that you never know who's watching you, right? there was somebody who was in my stream that told me they wanted to be an English teacher, but they didn't write well here. They were making so many mistakes when they were writing, and I told them, I don't think you're ready to be a teacher. And they said, why? And I said, well, I'm looking at your writing and you don't write well. I mean, you're making a lot of mistakes. And he said, yeah, but it's just Hello Talk. It's just social media. It doesn't matter. I said, well, it matters to me. It matters to me. And because you write like it doesn't matter, now I think it doesn't matter to you. So now I don't want to hire you. I wouldn't tell people that you should be a teacher. Right? So that's what I mean. You never know who's watching. So you should always do your best. All right? Okay. Please be patient. I'm running out of breath. And I'm probably talking a lot faster today, I think. What can I do? Okay, I already answered that one, I think. Let's see. And Kairev, I think the rest of your questions, Kairav, you should go to gamesToLearnEnglish.com. 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 It's a great free website that has lots of games about grammar and tense and verb and all that. It's all on gamesToLearnEnglish.com, Kairav. Okay? All right. All right, let's see. I'm too nervous to speak correctly. Leo, that's okay, man. Just speak. All right? I speak Chinese, Leo, and when I speak Chinese, I know it's wrong a lot. So I tell people that I speak really bad Chinese really well. 我会说中文，可是我知道我的中文就是有一点奇怪，因为这是自己的，所以如果我说我知道我说别的，我说不一样的，如果一个中国人说他们说对的，我说奇怪的，可是如果他们听得懂我说什么？没关系。All right. I hope you understood me. Oh my goodness. I am so far behind. So far behind on the comments. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch up with all these questions, guys. Feels like an auction. What's the difference between fluency and proficiency? That's a good question, Wesley. So that's the right question. So fluency, again, doesn't have a real good meaning because you can't really define it very well. But proficiency does. Proficiency means you have a good knowledge and use of something, right? To be proficient in something is to know about it broadly. Okay, so you know well. You know something well, then you're proficient in it. All right? So I tell people that learning is not an act of efficiency. Many people, when they learn, they're trying to do it efficiently. They're thinking about how fast can I do this? How fast can I learn this? And how much can I do? How little work can I do? That's what I wanted to say. How little work can I do and how fast can I do it? That's efficiency. That's not how you're supposed to think about learning. Learning is not an act of efficiency. Learning is an act of proficiency. You're not supposed to try to get to the top of the mountain faster. You're supposed to learn the mountain. Some people, when they learn, they're just trying to climb the mountain faster, but you don't know that mountain. You don't know that mountain. You're still in danger. You don't know anything about that mountain. You just got to the top quickly. So some people are just trying to get to the top quickly. That's the efficiency people. Some people are trying to know the mountain. That's the proficiency people. Okay, next. When I speak English, mine is very complicated, but when a native speaker speaks something, they speak simply. What's the difference? There's nothing wrong with speaking in a complicated way, Anna, but if that's the way you like to speak, then speak that way. Because language is like music, and everybody has different music. And that's beautiful. So make the music that you want to make with your language. But there is a beautiful rule that I will tell you in music that also works in language. In music, we say simple music played well is always better than complicated music played poorly. So if I have to go to an audition, right? I have to go to an audition and people are going to watch me and judge me. I could choose a very, very, very difficult piece of music to play. But if I choose that piece, if I don't play it perfectly because it's so difficult, they're not going to like it. But if I choose a simple piece, but I play it really, really well, they'll love it. All right? They're going to like it. So simple words spoken well are always better than complicated words spoken poorly. Right? Simple music played well is always better than complicated music played poorly, and simple words spoken well are always better than complicated words spoken poorly. Okay? Whew. Miriam, hello. To have affinity for something, what does it mean in everyday English? Affinity just means to like something. To have an affinity for something means to like or to love something. The word affinity, it actually, the original meaning of the word affinity means somebody who's related to you by marriage. So when you get married, now you have a whole side of the family that's now your family too, right? They're not your blood, but they are now part of your family. That's what this word meant. It meant to have an affinity for them, meant you now care about them because they're part of your family. Okay? It's like relationship by marriage. But then the word affinity just started to mean more like a friendship or to be like neighbors, to be like neighbors, people who live close by, who know each other. They have an affinity for each other. Okay. And then the word later just became more about a liking or an attraction to something. Okay? Okay. And is that word common? That word is common for people who have a good vocabulary. All right? So among my friends, that word wouldn't be weird. You know, if I went to my, friends, if I was hanging out with my friends and I said, I have a real affinity for this coffee, I don't think that they would laugh at me for saying the word affinity. Okay? All right. Let's see. When you speak, you understand me, but you don't understand others because they don't speak clearly. I know. I'm an English teacher. Of course, an English teacher should speak well, right? So, You're right that many people don't speak clearly, especially young men. Young men want to be cool, right? Young men want to be cool. They want people to think they're cool. And many young men, they don't know what being cool really means. So many of them, they think that being cool means, oh, I shouldn't try too hard, because if I try too hard, then people will make fun of me. Like, or they'll think that I'm weird because I tried too hard. It's a weird thing, but that's why many young men, when they speak, they don't want to move their mouths when they speak. So they speak like this. Watch me. All right, today, class, for English, we're going to learn all about the history of food. Food history is a very interesting history because food history spans the world, all over the world. They don't move their mouths because they have a weird thing, like they don't want people to think that they're trying too hard, so they don't try. It's really weird. But the truth of the matter is that the word cool means to be yourself and not be bothered by other people making fun of you. So being cool means doing whatever you think you should do and not caring about people laughing at you. That's being cool. Hey, laugh at me, whatever. I don't care what you think. That's what cool means. You do what is right, even if people are laughing. Okay? So, young people just have a misunderstanding about what cool means. Okay, and thank you. Susu is my moderator now. Susu can answer some questions, so if you guys see Susu answering questions, you can trust most of her answers should be correct, I'm sure. I have faith that she's answering things well. Okay. How can you make your language more musical? So I know that those words are hard to understand. Like, what does that mean? Okay, well, how do you become more musical in a song? If you know music, this will help you. If you don't know music, I'll try to explain. In music, we have many different qualities of music. So, for example, some music is very fast. Some music is kind of in the middle, and some music is very slow. And so that's called tempo. The speed of the music is called tempo. That's actually an Italian word, which goes back to Latin, okay? And it means the speed of the music, the tempo, okay? And then we have some songs are soft, some songs are medium, some songs are very loud. That's called dynamics. Dynamics. And then we also have rhythm, right? So there's sometimes when you play a note, and then there's sometimes when there's some space, right? And in music, we tell people that the space is actually more important than the notes, because it's the space that makes the notes special. If there's no space, then all the notes are the same and they're not special. So do you see the way that I pause, the way that I speak, how I stop, and how I use certain words more strongly? I accent certain words, right? That's called making it musical. I'm using speed, tempo. I'm speaking at a speed that you can understand. It's a medium tempo. It's easy to listen to. Okay? I'm using a volume that's clear, that's loud enough to be understood, but not too loud, and not too soft, because I don't want to speak like this. Because if I speak like this, you won't hear me. So that's dynamics in your voice, right? And then rhythm. So if I speak like this all the time, then it's very boring because everything sounds almost the same rhythm. Every word is the same rhythm. Bop, 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 bop. That's boring. But if I change the rhythm, then it gets more interesting. And if I change the pitch, it gets more interesting. So you see how language and music are the same thing? Language and music, they all have tempo and they all have dynamics and they all have pitch and rhythm. Okay? You just have to think about those things. And great speakers use all of those things when they speak. All right? Okay. I need to take a short break for a second, guys. Oh my God. There must be 1,000 messages that I haven't read. So I'm so sorry, guys, but it's hard for me to keep up. You know, I want to answer questions. Gabz says, in my opinion, education starts with motivation. If you don't give them inspiration, they're not excited to learn. I say the same thing. I say, if the teacher's not excited, then why should the students be excited? That's what I tell them. I say, it starts with the teacher. The energy that the teacher brings into the room is the energy that the students might reflect. Not will reflect, but might reflect. Okay, but if I walk into the room and I'm bored and I don't like what I'm doing, yeah, they're going to know and they're not going to like it. But having the right energy can be infectious. Infectious means that if I have this energy, then maybe you'll have that energy too. And then they have that energy. And now everybody has that same energy. It's like a virus. It's an infection. It's infectious. Okay, what is the meaning of flabbergasted? Flabbergasted means to be very surprised and shocked. Okay, thank you, Susu. I've gotten a bunch of questions. Yes, indeed. See, I love having questions, guys. I love having questions. That's what I love to do. My brain starts firing, and I love that feeling that something's making things work up there, you know? I'm not saying that every answer I give is correct all the time or that it's perfect or anything, you know, or it's the only answer. There are other answers that could be correct also beyond mine, you know. Yeah, I like to make my brain work. So yeah, keep the questions coming. Just give me a minute. Oh, man. All right. Okay, Michael wants me to say the word serious. Serious. So basically, Michael, you know, when we say, hey, Siri... right? My phone just asked me or answered me here. It's like that. Serious. Okay? So all you have to do is put the sound yes at the end of the word. Serious. Okay? Can I achieve this just not by speaking in English for a certain time by listening to native speakers? Kairav, when you're trying to learn something, don't ask what you can do the least amount of, right? Don't say, can I do it just by, right? So Kairav, what we say is, don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. Don't see how little you can do. See how much you can do. All right, so Kairov, many years ago, my teacher said to me in a lesson, I think I was about 16 years old, and he said, Mark, you know what? You might be great. But he said, you'll never know. And the reason he said that is because he knew that at that time, I didn't really try my best. I always tried to do the least. I never tried to do the most. I always tried to do the least that I could do. So he said, you might be great, but you'll never know because you never try. And that was like, wow, okay, he's right. He's right. If I do want to be good, then I can't try the least. I have to try more, not less. All right, man? Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to skip a few questions because I want to kind of try to catch up to the comments at the bottom here. I was just looking to see if there's anything I can answer quickly. What's the difference between being sheepish and being embarrassed? Sheepish is more like shy. Sheepish and shy are pretty close to the same meaning, okay? Embarrassed is when you just feel awkward and uncomfortable when you do something incorrectly or badly in front of people, maybe, right? So you feel embarrassed. Okay? When I was a boy, I remember we used to make this word. We would say, okay, well, how do I remember the word embarrassed? Well, it kind of sounds almost like bare ass. Bare meaning naked, and ass. And if you have a bare ass, then everyone will be laughing at you, and then you will feel embarrassed. The man with the bare ass is embarrassed. Okay. And you can say persons too. That's correct. Yes. All right. Next question. Hello, Vadim. You haven't been here for a long time. Okay, well, welcome back, my friend. Don't categorize all of us, please, Parla says. I'm not sure what you meant by that. How to get over hesitation? You never completely get over hesitation. Hesitation just is part of human nature. There are some times when you just naturally, you question yourself, you doubt yourself, so you hesitate. Hesitation sometimes is a good thing. Sometimes hesitation is what you need to stop yourself from doing something bad, right? So you won't get over hesitation. What you try to do is learn how to become comfortable so that hesitation doesn't happen. Okay, so you try to learn how to become comfortable and relaxed in what you're doing so that you don't need to hesitate so much. Okay? But you'll never really get over hesitation completely. Okay? All right. Okay, so Parla says I have too much ego. All right, well, thank you, Parla. Parla, it's not like I've been teaching for more than 30 years. Parla, it's not like more than 1 million people have watched me here and 90,000 people follow me. But you're right, I do have too much ego. We all do. By the way, Parla, of my 90,000 followers around the world, the number one country that follows me is China, because I speak Chinese poorly, but I speak Chinese. But the number two country that follows me is Iran, and I have thousands of followers in Iran who I love dearly. I'm not sure if they would agree with you. I'm not even sure what it was that I said that made you so upset. Oh, man. I don't have a West Coast accent. No, my accent is called the Mid-Ohio accent or Central Ohio accent. It's the closest accent to the IPA pronunciation. I look stressed. Do I look stressed? I don't think I'm stressed. You don't follow me because I speak Chinese, but because of the things I say. All right. Well, that's fine too. That's fine too. Let's see. "听不懂吗？为什么你听不懂我说什么？"啊，你啊我知道，今天我知道我说快一点，因为很多人他们问我很多问题，所以现在我的嘴好累。All right. What's the difference between this pronunciation of the word serious and cereal? La 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 la. Cereal. Okay? Hello, Esther. Long time no see. I think the third one will be India. I can't remember what the third one is now. I'm not sure. It might be. I'm not sure. Can't remember. Where can you see the statistics? So, Alessia, you can't. I was able to get that because I asked HelloTalk to get that for me. But they did that for me as a favor because I've been on the app for 12 or 13 years, you know, doing lots of live streams for them. So they help me keep track of my statistics. Every once in a while, I will ask them. But I don't think they'll do that for just everyone. They can't do that for everybody because they don't have time. So they do it for me only because I have many followers. All right. Let's see. Precious is asking me, what does what? Gaoler? I don't think that's a word. Ah, yeah, okay, that's a word, but that's not a word that's used anymore. It's a very, very old, uh, it's an archaic Commonwealth English term for a jailer. So today we say prison guard or jailer. And jailer is the word where this word, um, one moment. Yeah, it's actually pronounced the same way. So that is an early spelling and pronunciation of the modern word jailer, Jailer. So this word Gaoler is pronounced jailer, and that is the old word that was used. What years? Middle English. So, like, I want to say that's around 1200, 1300. I think. So that's the old word for jailer. Okay. If I say I have an affinity for you or with you, for you is how we usually say it. Yeah. If you're talking about a person, we say for you. You could say I have an affinity with something like a topic, or yeah, you could use with for certain things. But when we talk about people, I don't know that we ever use the term with. I have an affinity with Jenny or Joni, or no, I don't think so. I think we usually say for people. But then you could use with for some things or topics. Okay? I lengthen the word as in interesting, like interesting. Right, both are correct. So that's the word should be pronounced interesting. Interesting, which is how it's spelled, right? But there is a term, and I can't remember what it's called. Wait a minute. Ah, it's called syncope. Syncope, which means, or there's another term for it, elision, which means that you're deleting or removing a vowel, right? You're dropping an unstressed syllable from a sound in the middle of a word. So, for example, some people say comfortable and some people say comfortable, right? Comfortable, comfortable. They're both fine. Interesting, interesting. Both are fine. Why do I use one and when do I use the other? I have never really ever thought about it, but if I have to think about when would I say interesting and when would I say that's very interesting, I think Wow, when do I do that? That's a very interesting question I'm going to have to think about. What's the musical reason for why I choose the syncope over the correct pronunciation sometimes? I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm very intrigued by the question, so I'm going to think about it more and I'll see if I can figure out the answer. Maybe I'll write an article about it in my blog, but I'll try to see if I can come back and give you an answer maybe in the next stream. Okay? I'll see if I can think about it. Why do we sometimes pronounce a word with the correct pronunciation, and why do we sometimes compress it or use elision to skip a sound? Yeah, let's see. Lynn wants to know, does the pack have a special relationship with wolves? If you mean the word pack as meaning a group of wolves, it's just the term that we use for a group of wolves. It's also a term used. Pack of dogs, pack of wolves, coyotes is another kind of like a small wolf. Hyenas is an animal that's usually an African animal. It's like kind of like a wolf lion kind of a thing. And also mules. Mules, the animal that we use to put things on, those are used for carrying heavy things. That's also a pack of mules. So, pack is used for a group of identical. They're a group of animals that live, hunt, or travel together, right? So, wolves, dogs, coyotes, and hyenas, they all hunt together, they travel together, they live together, right? Mules, they travel together when they're in a pack, right? When we use them to carry things. Okay, let's see. Do I support the idea that people should learn advanced words? I mean, is knowing words enough for fluency? So, is it Bijan? Yes, I support the idea of learning advanced words. I always think it's good to learn vocabulary, even if it's difficult vocabulary or if it's rarely used vocabulary. It's an exercise for the mind. Every time you learn a new word, you're connecting an idea or a concept to a visual representation in English, a visual and sound auditory representation in English. So even if the words you're learning are rare, okay, so maybe you know some words that you don't use very often. Or the way I like to think about it is, if you learn some really advanced words, those are words that maybe a native might not know. Okay? There are some words that maybe a native won't know, and you do. That's kind of cool. Wow, I know something the native doesn't. All right? Look at it that way. All right. Hello, Miguel. Cockroach, that's an interesting name. How long have you been learning English, Mr. Cockroach? Okay, let's see. Doesn't English change way too fast? At this rate, people from the same country probably won't even be able to understand each other 100 years from now. Mayo, no. You're right, English does change, but it doesn't change that fast. But if you go back 1,000 years before today, you won't understand English at all. Okay? I posted a video about this on my Moments in Hello Talk. I found this great kid. He's a linguist. This kid, he knows a bunch of languages and he studies the formation of these languages. And he has a video where he speaks English in different years, right? So he goes back 1,000 years and speaks English, what English was 1,000 years ago. And then he goes to 800 years ago, then 600, then 400, then 200, then 100, then now. And you won't understand anything he says in the beginning, but you will by the end. So, will it change so much that people won't understand in 100 years? No. No. It doesn't change that fast at all. Okay, it's like continental shift. It's like, it used to be millimeters, now it's like inches, but still it's not much. Okay, so what I would say is, in another 1,000 years, yes, I expect that English will probably be quite different than what I'm speaking right now in 1,000 years. Okay, I expect that it will be different. All right, but in 100 years, I expect that there will be some words that I don't know, that I'm not familiar with. There might be a few minor grammatical changes that I could figure out, but I don't think that it would be like, I don't understand anyone. It's not that fast. Okay? As a matter of fact, I wish it changed faster, Mayo, because they're very strict about the rules of grammar, have stayed the same mostly for quite some time, and they really could be upgraded and updated quite a bit, I think. Okay? Maybe when I want to emphasize something. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about, is that sometimes it might be when I'm being more casual and when I'm being more formal. Sometimes it might be when I'm want to emphasize something more, when I say interesting instead of, oh, that's interesting, right? That sounds more casual. So that's why, see, that question now, I will think about that the rest of today. I'll probably go outside and do some yard work and cut the grass. And while I'm cutting the grass, I'll be thinking about, why do I use comfortable and comfortable and interesting and interesting? When do I change, and what's the reasoning and logic and system behind my choice of words? I'll think about that probably all day, and then I'll figure it out. Okay? That's what you should do. That's why I love questions, because questions make me learn too, right? That's what I ask people is, who learns more? The student or the teacher? Who learns more? Both. Bijan says teacher. Teacher's correct. And why does the teacher learn more than the student? Because the student has one mind, so the student can think of only the questions that they think of. But the teacher has how many minds asking it questions? So the teacher has to answer the questions of 20 or 30 minds. Right? So that's why I love being a teacher, because people will ask me something and maybe I don't know, but then I'll have to think about it and figure it out, and it makes me learn more. Yeah. How did I know how to pronounce your name? I took a wild guess. I took a wild guess completely. I'm glad I was right, but I took a wild guess. Just I saw that you're from what, Iraq, I think, and I thought, okay, it's probably kind of Arabic sounding, so I took a guess. Okay, let's see. Esther says, I made a brave attempt to speak English publicly. I'm sure it will have to wait for another time. Okay, well, I don't know why it has to wait for another time, but I'm glad you made a brave attempt to speak English publicly. Good for you. Like in spoken English, we pronounce the right. Right. So that's another one. I also do this, the and the. There actually is a rule that I had to learn. I was like, what is that? There's a rule? But there is a rule. I can't remember it right now, but there's a rule about that. But nobody really knows the rule. Nobody really follows the rule consciously. So what I've noticed is, again, it's like a preferential thing. There are some times when the word the just sounds better or feels better, right? Hand me the cup of coffee. Okay. But if I say he's the best basketball player I've ever seen, that makes it more accented. So it's more special. Right? So there is a logical reason behind that pronunciation, right? But I don't know if everybody really consciously thinks about it or if it just naturally kind of happens. There are some things that are like music. You just hear everybody making that music and then you make that music too. Okay? I don't have a favorite football player because I don't watch football. I don't watch sports. I'm sorry. All right, let's see. Make sure you don't cut your neighbor's grass when you focus on the word interesting. Well, see, that's another article that I'm actually working on, Susu, is how some of my best ideas, I have an idea, I'll think about an idea, I'll think about a concept, something will occur to me, or I'll be curious about something. And then when I'm doing some kind of manual labor, some kind of yard work, like cutting the grass is the best one. When I'm doing that, my mind starts really working because your body and your brain are actually connected. And if you do some kind of work, like cutting the grass because I'm pushing a lawnmower and I'm walking and it's a constant thing, back and forth and back and forth, and it's an activity where I just have to focus on keeping it straight, and that's it, right? But that physical activity will distract my body, and that frees your mind. So there are studies that show that many people, not everyone, but many people, their brains work better when they have an activity to distract their body with. So for example, many people, when they talk on the phone, they walk, they pace back and forth in the room. They pace while they're talking, right? That's, your body wants to do that. Your body wants to do an activity to distract itself, to make your mind free, to think better, right? Or some people will tap their fingers or tap their feet or something, right? That's, again, it's an act. Your body is trying to do something that distracts itself, which gives your mind more freedom to think. Waleed, you were silent the whole lesson. What's wrong, buddy? And in the end, the knowledge comes back to the student. It's a cycle. That's exactly right. Yeah. Teacher, without the 1066 Norman conquest, how would modern English vocabulary differ today? I love this question. Okay, so without the 1066 Norman conquest, English would probably be pretty different. Between 30 and 50% of English words currently come from French, right? It depends on who you talk to, right? I say 30%, but there are some people who say as many as 50% of English words come from French. And that's because of the 1066 Norman conquest mostly, right? So the Norman conquest of 1066 is when William the Conqueror, the king of the Normans, who's basically the French people at that time, they invaded England and they conquered England and they became the rulers of England during that time. So what happened to English is French became a big part of English because all of the rich people were French, so they spoke French. Well, at that time it was called Norman French, but it was French, early French. And then all of the poor people spoke early English. And that's the reason why we have the word pig and we have the word pork and we have the word cow and we have the word beef. Because cow and pig are from Old English and pork and beef are from Old French. And the reason why is because the poor people, they didn't eat meat very often. They couldn't afford to eat meat very often. They didn't eat the meat. They took care of the animals. So they used the animal word, pig, cow, chicken, right? That's the animal words, right? But then the rich people, they would eat the meat. They didn't touch the animals. They didn't deal with the animals. They only ate the meat. So that's why we have the word pork and we have the word beef. Those are from French. You're Kurdish. You thought I may know Persian alphabet because of my followers. I don't know the Persian alphabet. I wish I did, but no. Again, it was just a kind of a guess, a linguistic guess about how to pronounce your name. I'm glad I got it right, but it was a total guess. When I was guessing, I was like, I hope that's right. All right, let's see. Why don't you have any questions today? Waleed, that's not a bad thing, man. It's a good thing. There are some days when it's better to just sit back and listen and let other people ask questions. Be a good listener. That's an act. You have to practice. Practice listening. People don't practice listening, but you should. Okay? Listening is something that not everyone is good at. Okay? If you are a musician, you're probably better at listening because that's part of the job. You have to listen to the song and listen to the music to know what to do. And you have to try to think about when you're listening to it, what's happening here? Why is this good or bad? We use that same skill when we listen to people who speak. Okay? Okay, let's see. So if the Norman invasion had not happened, I would think that English would not have a lot of those French words. I wouldn't say it won't have any French, but I would guess that the French influence would be lower, like maybe 20% or 10%. Thank you, Language Warrior. That was a great question. Of the Mantella, I'm fine. How are you? Okay. You're feeling outgoing when you study English, especially in my stream. Well, good. I'm glad, Yamin. 加油，小能生巧。 Please give me a plan to improve my English. AS. I cannot do that. And the reason I cannot do that, AS, is because I don't know you. I don't have a plan that works for everyone the same way. Okay? What I can tell you is this. English has 8 parts, or language. Language has 8 different parts that you have to know. Okay? And you have to think about my level in each of these parts. So what are the 8 parts of language? Reading, writing, listening, speaking, thinking. I call those the 5 active parts of language, the 5 active parts. Reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking. And then there are 3 more parts, the passive parts of language. That's grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. All right? So, the passive parts, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, you have to study those so that you can use them when you write, read, listen, speak, and think. Right? So, 3 passive parts, 5 active parts. The 5 active parts are reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking. And the 3 passive parts are grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Okay? And yes, thank you very much. Susu has a PDF file right there. If you copy that link with that file that says Mark's FAQ PDF, that file there, everything you want to know about me is in that file. Okay, so my schedule is in that file. If you want to know my schedule when I'm here, it's in that file. If you want to know my website, and you want to know my blog, and you want to know my YouTube channel, it's in that file. And I also gave 4 free articles from my blog. One of those articles is about the 8 parts of language, I think. I'm pretty sure. Okay? What's my favorite song to play drums on? Wow, that's a hard one. So Patrick, I'll tell you my usual answer first. I often tell people that when they say, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite language? What's your favorite whatever? I usually tell them I don't really have favorites. And the reason why is because I have learned that having a favorite is kind of like having a bias. And when you have a favorite, now you don't consider other things as much as you should. You bias yourself by having a favorite. So I've kind of grown into the idea of, I think about it more like Duke Ellington. Patrick, do you know who Duke Ellington is? I don't know if you're old enough to know who Duke Ellington is. Have you ever heard of Duke Ellington? He's an old jazz composer, jazz musician. He's one of the most famous American jazz musicians. He wrote a famous song called Take the A Train. He wrote lots of famous jazz songs, okay? And he has a saying that I love. He said, there are only 2 kinds of music, good music and the other kind. And I like that because when people ask me what's my favorite kind of music, it's good music. I like good music. I don't care where it's from. I don't care what kind of music it is. I don't care who played it or what year it was made. I just care if it's good. Do I like it when I hear it? That's it. That's all I care about, right? Same thing with food. What's my favorite food? Man, every country has delicious food, so I promise if I travel anywhere, I can find something to eat that I will think is really yummy, right? And if I only think, oh, hamburgers are the best, and so nothing is as good as a hamburger, then I don't consider anything as well as I should, right? I'm not really paying attention, right? So I know it's weird. I know it's like, oh, that's too philosophical, man. I know it is, but it's kind of how I've always been since, I don't know, since I was like a teenager. I think I used to have favorites. When I was probably in my teens, I had favorites. But then I'll give you the easy answer. I'll just say that one of my favorite songs to play at this stage in my life, there's a song called 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. It's a song by Paul Simon, and the drummer on that song is a guy named Steve Gadd, and he's a phenomenal drummer he is one of the only exceptions that I make. I do say he's my favorite drummer. And the reason I say he's my favorite drummer is because of what he's good at. He plays everything. He's one of the most recorded drummers of all time. He's been on like 30,000 records. It's crazy. His discography is so long and it's so many different things. So why do I admire him so much? Because he's the king of doing everything. So that's the only reason why I make an exception for Steve Gadd. I say he's my favorite. I do say that. Okay, so what is it? Are you a drummer, Patrick? Does a certain song have a fun beat that you jam to? Yeah, like I said, there are lots of beats that are like that, man. When I was younger, my favorite song to play was Hot for Teacher by Van Halen, which is a really, 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 really hard song to play. And I never, ever, no drummer other than Alex Van Halen, no drummer has ever really played that song as well as he did. But we all try. It's one of those songs that's like up here that every drummer wishes they could play as well as the original. Yeah. So, anyway. The Goo Goo Dolls. I got to meet them. What year was that? 90. I want to say it was like 97, 98. They were playing a show in town, and they were the band that opened up for them was a local band they were friends of mine, and they were all hanging out together. Pretty nice guys. Not my favorite band, but nice guys. Thank you, Zubair. I should, if I don't know about it yet, I should look up Sertaneo? Sertaneo. Do I know that? That sounds familiar. Sertanejo. No, sertanejo. Okay, it's the most popular music in Brazil. Yeah, okay. I've heard it. Yeah, I just I didn't recognize the name. But, so, Patrick, I'm a huge fan of old Brazilian music, like bossa nova and samba. I learned how to play a lot of bossa nova songs and stuff, and Antonio Carlos Jobim and Gilberto, and all these the original famous musicians in Brazil. But then some of my Brazilian followers started showing me some of the more modern versions of Brazilian music, because many of the Brazilian people now, they don't really listen to that old style of music that I like. They still like samba, some of them, but yeah. You recorded with the drummer. Oh, so you are a musician. It's Brazilian country music, right? Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah. Language is power. Thank you, Yev. The modern beats are fun, even if you're more of a technical jazz guy. Yeah, like I said, man, for me, I like to do a little bit of everything. That's kind of the way my career was when I was 20 years old. What I wanted to do was what Steve Gadd did. He's a studio drummer. He recorded records. But unfortunately, between the age of when I was 20 and 30, that career pretty much disappeared. Only about 6 or 7 guys did everything in the studio at that time. So the career of studio drumming was like non-existent at that point. But my career path was kind of like that, where I played in every kind of band because I wanted to be able to be like that. I wanted to be like Steve Gadd, where sure, I play in a rock band, but I also went to jazz school and, I do jazz gigs and pop music and funk music and bar bands and wedding bands and club bands and all that stuff. But that's a long time ago. I don't really play out much anymore. Now I play online sometimes for fun, but I haven't. The last gig I did was I flew to Idaho to do a performance at a big ski resort, an outdoor performance at a big ski resort with a blues rock band. It was really fun, man. We were outside, big stage, Sun Valley resort, ski resort. There's mountains with snow and people are skiing down the mountain and we're on stage watching people ski down the mountain playing blues music. It was great. Beautiful weather. It was amazing. It was really fun. I got to play the guitar player in that band. It's funny. He was one of my drum students 20 some years before. But he's a multi-instrumentalist and he became more of a guitar player singer, and he lives up in Nova Scotia now, and he still does some tours, and every once in a while he'll give me a call and ask me if I want to play a show. So yes, what's my job? Yeah, English teacher and drummer. Currently I do more English teaching than drumming. But drumming is not really well, I should say both of them. Teaching and drumming are not really jobs for me. Because even if I don't get paid, I still do them. I'm kind of annoying that way. Like, so like if I'm at a party or something and somebody's talking to me or something and I'm in the middle of a conversation, there are some times when people will ask me a question or they'll say something, and then all of a sudden I find that I'm teaching. They're asking about something, and then I'll, what really happens is this, and then this, and then this, and, and I'm all of a sudden I'm teaching, and I'm not trying to. It's not like, so it's hard sometimes for me to turn it on and off. So that's why I'm saying teaching is not completely a job for me. It's kind of part of my personality. My face is so springy. My facial skin is so springy. I look so adorable. Well, thank you. Am I going to watch the World Cup? I'll tell you what. I will watch a little bit of the World Cup just because everybody else is so excited about it, so I'll check it out. But the truth is, I'm not interested. Thank you. Take care, Patrick. Thanks for the follow. What am I drinking now? Water. Gobi. What are you doing, Gobi? This is an English class. What are you doing? Don't be desperate. Desperation is a stinky perfume. That's my answer. I don't know you. It's a silly thing to ask a stranger. If you like me, I appreciate that you like me. But, of course, I can't be your boyfriend because I don't know you. All right? Thank you for liking me. I appreciate that you like me. But if I'm going to like someone, then I have to know them. I'm weird that way. I'm very weird. I know. I like to if I like somebody, I have to know them. It's weird. I like to know what their name is. I like to know their first name and their middle name and their last name. And right now, I am in a relationship with myself. I am trying to learn about me. I'm trying to figure out who I am. And if I figure out who I am, maybe I can be better if I'm with someone else. Because if you don't know who you are when you're with someone else, it's hard to have a good relationship. Gobi. That's not how I work. That's not how I work, Gobi. You can't buy me. Well, maybe you can, but... Talk to Waleed. There you go. Talk to Waleed. Waleed is a good guy who's really looking for a good woman. So if you're a good woman, talk to Waleed. Waleed, you be good. Be a good guy. No Andrew Tate BS. Be a good guy. And then because that's the thing. Remember what I said, Waleed. If you're presented with a good thing, you better treat it like a good thing. Okay, that's not how Andrew Tate works. Okay. Preeti is asking, what kind of person are you? Are you asking me, Preeti? Okay, Gobi, if you're feeling alone, I understand that loneliness is hard. But let me tell you something. That's the reason why you should have a relationship with yourself. Learn about who you are, Gobi. Find out more about who you are. Understand yourself more. Why are you so lonely right now? Why do you want a parent? If that's what you feel, think about it and figure out why. Then you'll be ready to talk to somebody. But if you don't know why you feel that way, then you're not ready to talk to a relationship. You're not ready to have a relationship. Okay? But this is not the place to be talking about relationships, okay? I'm an English teacher, and I'm here teaching my class, and there are 70 people here in my class right now. So please remember that you're not here alone. And Preeti's asking me, what kind of person am I? What kind of person am I? Oh. I'm an inquisitive weirdo. I'm an inquisitive weirdo, and proudly so. And yes, get the file, get the file, get the file. Okay, if you're over in my YouTube, I'm not trying to ignore you. You can ask questions over in my YouTube as well. Yes, you can follow me. Of course, no one's stopping you. Just be respectful. Treat this like a classroom, because it is. This is a classroom. Okay? Okay, somebody's raising their hand. Who is that? Is that who I think it is? No, it's not Gobi. Uh, well, let me check. Can you guys wait for just 1 second here? I'll be right back. And yes, I am on YouTube, and my YouTube is right here. Oh, but I don't know if it's going to show, because I think it didn't show last time. Oh, but it did this time. Okay, there you go. There's my YouTube. I'll be right back. Let me check something. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. Would hello still be our standard greeting today if telephone had never existed? Oh, wow. Probably, yeah, because the word hello has existed for a long time in many forms, right? So if you look at the word hello historically, that's why there are so many languages that have the sound of this hello is the same thing, right? It sounds very similar because that word is actually pretty old, right? Like in Spanish, it's hola, but it's spelled Hola, right? So that's like hello, right? Let's see. Well, that's interesting. Guess what? So the word hello in Spanish is hola, and it's spelled Hola. But the word hello, the original word hello was a mispronunciation of the word hallo, Hallo, which was also a mispronunciation of the original word Holla, hola, which sounds a lot more like the Spanish word hola. Just the H has changed pronunciation. So it's actually kind of funny. The old version of the word hello sounds more like the new version of the Spanish word hello. But so it was one out, right? So there was a contest for the greeting, right? That's why you're asking about the telephone, right? It's because in the 1880s they had the spread of the telephone, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to say as the first word and stuff, right? And what was going to be the most popular greeting to say. And there was a contest between the word hello and the word ahoy, which is another word that many languages use to say hello. That's how you say hello in Slovak, is ahoy. And ahoy is what they used to say on ships. You know, when you were coming into port, you would say ahoy, which was hello. So I still think it would probably be our standard greeting, probably. And I'm going to watch one or two. I'll watch some of a World Cup match. I don't think I'll watch an entire match, but I'll probably turn it on and watch some because I think I should. I'm not a big sports guy. I've said it many times, but because I don't want to be too weird about it, I'll put it on and watch a little bit just so that I have some appreciation for it. What kind of instrument is placed behind me? There are a lot of instruments behind me. So this is my drum set. And then there are many hand drums behind me here. There's some North African hand drums there, and some West African hand drums back on here, and some Mexican maracas up here, and a Cuban shaker up here, and there's some bells from Tibet and some other drums. They're all drums, all various kinds of drums behind me, because I'm a drummer. Yeah, ahoy, ahoy. Like when I was a kid, that's what the pirates would say, or the people on the boats in the old movies when you see the guy on the boat and they would say, ahoy, matey. And ahoy means hello, and matey was mate or friend. So hello, friend. Can I play an instrument for you? Well, I played yesterday. I don't think I'm going to play today. But I sometimes do play music on my streams, okay? And I do want you to understand that everything that I know about language learning came from my knowledge as a musician and a drummer. I mean that. So, sometimes when I turn on the camera, sometimes I do a live stream and I go back there and I just play music and I don't teach at all. And that's not for you. That's for me. It's my practice. I like to practice drums with the camera on because it means that there's an audience. And when you practice with an audience, you focus more, right? You care more because people are watching, right? So I sometimes like to practice drums and turn on the camera. But there are some people who don't like that. They're like, hey, don't play music. We just want you to teach us only. And here's what I have to say to that. It's not about you all the time. Sometimes it's about me. And if I want to play music when I come here, if you don't want to watch, don't watch. All right? But today I don't really feel like playing. Maybe next time. Okay? Or you can see some videos of me playing on my YouTube channel. Why did Thomas Edison's hello defeat Alexander? I don't remember the exact reason why. But I'll tell you what. Why don't you come back and teach us? This is something that I do sometimes with my students. Sometimes my students will ask me a question that either I can't remember the answer or I don't know the answer, or sometimes I know the answer, but I just want them to find it themselves. So I will tell them, hey, I don't know the answer to that question, but why don't you go find out and then come back and teach me? Okay? Did I teach myself the drums? Some yes and some no. I did have a lot of formal training. I did go to a performing arts high school where I studied drums a lot there. Intensely, and then I did go to jazz university, a university jazz program to study jazz drums in a university, and I've had many, many, many teachers. But sometimes you study and you have a teacher and you're taking lessons with them every week or every month or something like that, and sometimes you don't have a teacher. And then you are your own teacher. So you have to teach yourself, right? So that's the nature of music, is usually like that. You have a teacher sometimes, and sometimes you don't, but then you self-study in between teachers. And you try to find different teachers that have different things to teach you, different methods or ideas or concepts. Top of the morning to ya. How many online classes do I have per day? You mean here, streams? I just do the one. Now. I used to do 4 a day. Now I do 1. Okay, Gobi, I think you don't really know what we're doing here, Gobi. And I'm not sure you're here for the right reasons. Desperation is a stinky perfume. And what is the correlation between playing music and learning a language? Okay, there are many correlations. The most basic correlation between learning music and learning language is that language is sound that you make for expression, right? Every word is a sound, and each sound is a word that gives some meaning that has expression, right? So words are used to give expression from sound, right? Music is also sound that's used to express yourself, right? So when you have an angry song, it sounds angry, right? When you have a sad song, it sounds sad. right? So just by the nature of they both are sound and expression. That's one big reason why they're the same. But there are many other reasons. Functionally and fundamentally, the parts of language are similar to the parts of music. I was explaining this earlier, that in music you have tempo, which means the speed of the music, right? So sometimes you might speak fast when you want to speak fast, or sometimes you might speak really, really slowly. That's called tempo. Okay? And we also have dynamics in music. Dynamics means loud and soft. And a good speaker will use good dynamics. When something is really, really important, maybe they get louder and it's more passionate like this. But when it's more delicate and tender and soft and gentle, then your voice becomes soft and gentle. That's dynamics. And you also have rhythm. If I speak like this all the time with one rhythm, then everyone will be very bored, right? But when you use a lot of rhythm, the words have a lot more interesting sound to them. Okay? So music and language are very similar in so many ways. Okay, I could go on. There are a lot more examples. Okay, guess what, guys? It's been about 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think that's probably enough for me today. I need to watch my voice a little bit more than I have been lately, so I'm going to probably go ahead and go here. But before I go, Susu, can you do me a favor and post that link for me again? If you wouldn't mind. Huh? You've been muted. What? Huh. Susu's been muted. What's going on? I think I know what happened. Susu. If I had to take a guess, it's probably a HelloTalk automatic filter that got triggered because you posted too many of my links. That they don't usually let people post links. They let me do it because I'm the host, right? But it's probably because of that. Okay? Yeah. I've worked hard. Yes, Shinkula, right? Thank you, Yamin. Yeah, I feel tired. My brain hurts. 你要教我中文吗? Okay, I'm going to go. But there's the link. Thank you. There. That's the link. I don't know why I didn't do it. I should have done it myself. But thank you very much, Language Warrior. That link that she just posted there, that link is a link to my PDF file. Okay, or he. I'm sorry, he. That's a link to my PDF file. And yeah. So everything that you need to know about me is in that file. Okay, if you want to know my schedule and my YouTube channel and my website and my blog and everything about me is in that file. Okay, so if you copy that link, go to that link, you can find it. I'll put it here too, just in case. I'm going to post it as well. Let me find it. Where did it go? There it is. Here is the link. Okay, everything that you need to know about me is in that file. Okay, so just get that file and read the file, read the file, read the file. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I'm tired. But thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening wherever you live in the world, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe. If I have time, maybe. I'm not sure if I will have time tomorrow or not. Okay? Okay. Bye, everyone. Ciao.